Hey, Amanda, welcome. We've got a special guest today, everybody. Amanda from Mental Amanda, the awesome YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe. I'm so happy that you're here, Amanda. Welcome.
I'm excited. So, like you said, I'm a content creator. I focus on mental health, kind of like you, but more from my own experiences. So, even though I'm majoring in psychology, specifically forensic psychology,
Wow.
most of my reactions and my conversations, my streams and stuff focus on my experiences with mental health as a survivor and recovered addict.
Wow, that's powerful. You have a very unique and a very powerful impact and angle that you come at to your videos. Do you feel that that affects your audience and the type of people that draws in? And how so?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people are looking for someone to validate them of how they feel for a specific song, but it might not necessarily be to validate particular emotions. But
Right.
because of the songs that I do, because I tend to get a lot more requests or I choose songs that pertain to mental health, I think that it brings in a lot of people that didn't have another place to open up. And that's why I wanted to have this community is to utilize music and reactions to encourage conversation about mental health. And as I often say, shatter the stigma.
I like that. Yes, I did notice that. I did a little bit of homework, even more so with what I already know, and I think that that's, as mentioned, a very powerful, unique approach. I like that you point out that there is a stigma and that you come at it. I noticed that well, it says that your YouTube channel has been up since like 2008. Is that when you started reactions, or is that just kind of when you joined the platform? How long have you been doing the reactions?
I've only been doing the reactions for a couple of years now. I
Okay.
joined back then because I made a video for the It Gets Better project. I was
Okay.
obviously poking around YouTube for my own reasons, just to listen to a song or to watch a
Okay.
video, listen to something
Okay.
motivational, whatever the case was. But I made a video way back in 2008, I guess it was. I don't
Okay.
think that I made that video that long ago. No, because that video would have had to been, I think, 2012 or somewhere around there. But I made
Okay.
a video for the It Gets Better project just to encourage people who might be struggling with their mental health. So ironically, I already had that seed there, and I just
Yeah.
didn't know.
Yeah.
But I had this drive to participate in that because I already knew what it was like to be at rock bottom. I already knew what it was
Wow.
like to struggle. I'd lost both my parents in my early 20s.
I'm very sorry.
Um, thank you. I'd cycled a lot through grief and through a lot of different challenges myself, homelessness, like I said, addiction. And I just wanted to be that voice for other people to say, hey, it gets
Right.
better. And there is another side to this. And it might take some work, but there is another side to this darkness and to these challenges.
And it seems that there's definitely a large audience in need and hungry for that type of content. I mean, your channel is growing fast. You got over 60,000 subscribers. You're putting out so much content. It looks like you had put almost 400 videos out. And I noticed that you don't only react to music, but you also do vlogs where you speak about mental health and how to videos, which I think is awesome and an awesome addition to your content. I feel like it adds to very interesting diversity in what you have to offer. And to tell me a little bit about how you how does it personally help you react? Because since we're talking about the psychology of reaction videos and the impact it has on artists, content creators, in your case, how has it contributed to your growth and healing?
There have been many times where I didn't know how to tell parts of my story. There's parts that are very difficult to talk about, and
Yes.
I didn't really have the words for it.
Okay.
And as I started listening to some of these songs, it would be, oh, well, that perfectly describes what I'm feeling. That really makes sense. And to be honest, I kind of pigeonholed myself into very specific artists, very specific genres. So I didn't really venture out beyond that. So for
Okay.
me, I grew up on a lot of country with my parents, and then I got really into NSYNC. I rode the boy band wave in the 90s. And then by the time I was about 16, I found Linkin Park. And
Okay.
Linkin Park really helped me through a lot of my darkness. I was sexually assaulted at that time, right about the time that I found them. And I utilized the music and specifically Chester Bennington, the lead singer, to get through the
Okay.
trauma of that. So for me, being able to be introduced to this other music that is helping other people in the same way and seeing, oh wow, other people do the same thing. I honestly always kind of thought that it was just me. I thought that,
Really?
oh well, you're so different. Most people can just enjoy a music. Amanda, what's wrong with you? Why are you
Oh,
using it to wallow in these emotions? I often felt like I was wallowing in the emotions. So to see that these songs touched so many other people, or that there were other Chesters, for other people,
yeah.
that was really powerful for me. And honestly, there's been some songs. There was one called The Call. It was kind of a country
Okay.
song. And
Uh-huh.
that one really ripped me apart. Like that one, Fade to Black, that's my top viewed reaction. It really
Yeah.
kicked up a lot of unresolved trauma surrounding pregnancy loss that I had, that I hadn't known how to really deal with. I talked to professionals about it. I tried to journal and do, all the things that they tell you to do, but there was
Yeah.
some part of myself that was just being blocked.
Wow.
And when I heard these songs and I heard certain lyrics that triggered that, I had so many people asking that Metallica video has over 1 million views now, and I have so many people asking, why are you getting so emotional? Why are you crying? Why are you breaking down? And what they didn't know, because I didn't say it in the video, was I had lost a pregnancy fairly uh, recently as of filming that video. And
Oh,
there was a
that's
lyric
terrible.
in there. Thank you. There was a lyric in there that really struck me and really
Yeah.
hit me, and led me to get quite emotional. And obviously I don't that's not what the lyrics were written about,
No,
but
but it's what it meant to
yeah,
you. So how
but
you
it's what it meant
received
to.
it.
Yeah. And I
Oh,
think
maybe I need to listen to it because it sounds like that's a therapy song right there. Another one.
there's so many of them. There's
So
so many
many.
songs. I almost regret that I pigeonholed myself into only reacting to specific not reacting, only listening to specific songs in my teenage years. And
Yeah.
I think, wow, there could have been all these songs that allowed me to process other emotions
Mm.
differently, because
Mhm.
I think therapy is a tool, but I don't
Mhm.
think therapy alone is enough to help us always get deep inside ourselves or process certain
Yeah.
really difficult emotions. I think that there's so much else that can be, and frankly needs
Agree.
to be done to get through that.
I agree. I agree. I think we are holistic beings, right? Body, mind, spirit, or psyche, however we want to describe it. And I think that there's something to be said for having a holistic approach to healing, right? Just as much as being physically fit is important, right? But if all we do is work out physically and we don't actually pay attention to what we put in our body or the things we listen to and read, or as you said, music being a huge therapeutic tool, we miss out on a lot of the other parts of our existence that need to be healed, that need to be addressed. And I like how you speak on how music did that for you. Um, and yeah, I see what you say, and I can relate to that thought process of thinking, oh man, I should have already done this way sooner if I would have known. But the beauty is we're here now, and you are exploring all these different songs, and you're doing it on a platform where it takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable. But it sounds like you are using that for your own growth. And do you think that that has contributed to so many people coming to your channel because of your story and your healing process?
Well, I think that's why people get into reactions in the first place. I think that's
Okay.
part of why people get into reactions. One is because they just want to see people get excited about something they
Yeah.
get excited about.
Yeah.
But I think they're also, as I said before, in some cases looking to be validated. And
Mm.
aside from us and a couple other channels, there's not a lot of creators that offer that offer the
Mhm.
community, that offer the conversation,
Yeah.
when as it pertains to these things. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, a lot of people have come in because they're searching for something, they're
Yeah.
looking for something. And I like how you're talking about the holistic approach, because we forget that our brain is part of our body. So whatever
Yes.
we're
Oh
putting
my
into our
gosh.
body, doing to our
Yeah.
body,
Mhm.
that's affecting us. Like you were talking about nutrition.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
well, what you're eating, if
Yep.
you're eating processed foods,
Mhm.
that's sending signals up through your vagus nerve into
Yep.
your brain saying, hey, something's
Yep.
wrong. That
Yep.
can come out as signs of or symptoms of depression and anxiety. So there's the psychological benefit to music itself, right? And the
Right.
experience of the
Uh-huh.
reactor, but
Yeah.
also the viewers sharing. And for example, music with a slow tempo, like Pink
Yes.
Floyd, that's one that I just did a reaction to, Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
That can influence
Yep.
the automatic functions through the brainstem, right?
Yep. Yep.
Or that's going
Yep.
to calm the body, or
Yeah.
it can lower cortisol, which
Yes.
can alleviate
Isn't that
stress and anxiety.
Isn't that fascinating how just as much as there's multiple aspects to our body, not only our nervous system, our brain, like you so well pointed out, the brain is connected to our body. We forget sometimes our psyche is not some separate entity, right? Neither are our emotions. What we're thinking directly
Right.
affecting how we're feeling. And as intricate as that system is, that's one of the things I like about music is that you find that same multi-layered take, so like a lack
Yeah.
of better word, when you listen to these masterpieces, but because it's not just one instrument, it's not just one note, it's not just one vocal voice, right? Even if it's just one person singing, there's so many pieces coming together, and you've very well pointed out the tempo from the notes that are being used, the chord progressions to the music videos. Don't even get me started on the
Oh
visuals, right?
gosh.
That's stimulated, a stimulation. The words, right? There's power in what we say. It's such a multi-layered experience that I feel like can touch us and our core in very different ways, physically, in our brain. Um, do you feel like there's a certain type of music that you shared what you grew up on, but that has been most therapeutic to you, and why? If not a specific song, perhaps a type of, like you just said, tempo and type of musical arrangements that speak to you most or allow you to tap deep into those feelings.
It really depends on what I'm looking to accomplish at that time.
Okay.
So if I'm looking to feel nostalgic and I'm looking to kind of quelch that homesickness that I sometimes feel because I'm far away from home, like I said, my parents have passed away, so there's a lot of homesickness going on, then I might listen to that country. I might listen to NSYNC.
Okay.
If I'm feeling really intense despair or hopelessness for a short period, I might listen to Linkin Park. That's always been my go-to, is
Yeah.
Linkin Park, because number one, there is this there's this almost paradox, but there's this balance that you have Chester, the lead singer, who is very intense, almost kind of aggressive in some of the older stuff. But then you have
Yeah.
Mike, who's the other singer, who, yes, his thoughts are racing, but it's in, or his words are racing, he's kind of rapping, it's a little bit more upbeat, but it
Okay.
mellows out that aggressiveness. So it's kind
Okay.
of like this interesting seesaw between, okay, I'm getting that aggression out and then I'm being brought down, and then I'm getting that aggression out and then I'm being
Okay.
brought down. But mostly for me, it was the lyrics were just so very relatable. I did not have an official diagnosis at the time. I was later diagnosed borderline personality disorder, but I
Okay.
didn't have an official diagnosis. I didn't have a community of people to talk to. I certainly didn't have YouTube or anything when I was growing up, and I felt very alone. I felt very confused. I didn't have words for what I was feeling, and I honestly, there are many times where I thought, I'm crazy. I belong in a loony bin somewhere, because I realized pretty early on that I didn't think and experience like other people, that
Okay.
I knew something was off from a pretty young age. And when I could hear these lyrics and go, oh wow, somebody else feels just like
Yes.
I do. Somebody else
Yeah.
is having the same struggles. Okay, I'm not so crazy. It's not so weird,
Yeah.
like crazy and weird and all these labels we ascribe
Right.
to our
No,
mental
we do. We
experiences.
absolutely do. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was just learning more about his story
Yeah.
and the struggles he went through, and that he also went through addiction. He also went through depression.
Yeah.
Tragically, his story didn't have a happy ending, but
Right.
even that had an impact on me. At first,
That's powerful.
it was a very, I don't want to say negative, but almost defeating
Oh, I see.
impact,
Okay.
because when he passed away, it's, no, you are my strength. Like I turned
Right.
to you in the darkest of my times, even though I never knew him personally. It's, I turned to you when I was having these dark times, and you were strong and you were there and you helped me through. And now that you've lost your battle, how in the hell am I supposed to
Mm.
continue mine? How am I supposed to keep fighting when this person who had everything, from
Right.
my perspective, from my vantage
Right.
point, how am I supposed to keep fighting? But I think that that boils down to, we're talking about uh, the psychological aspect, the physiological aspect of music.
Right.
Sure, there's the prefrontal cortex, there's the amygdala, there's all these things that are being affected by music, but there's also the social aspect of it.
Yes.
There's this there's this catharsis that comes, sure, from experiencing
Absolutely.
music, and
Yeah.
that can be from composing, that can be from playing, that can be from listening, that can be from dancing to music.
Right.
But music has always been an integral part of our culture. And I think it's always brought healing.
Yeah.
We just might not have always leaned into it. Like, for example,
Yeah.
when I was listening to music growing up, even
Uh-huh.
with Linkin Park, I never focused as much on the music as I did
Okay.
the lyrics, as I did the
Okay.
person, as I did the power in the voice. I didn't listen to the guitars and the keyboard and
Okay.
all that.
Yeah.
So that opened up a whole new experience for me. But we use these things to mourn or to celebrate or to find
Absolutely.
inspiration, healing. And we
Absolutely.
can find that through the lyrics, we can find that through the music, but I think reactions have given us a new way to experience music and experience these emotional processes and the healing that comes with it. So
It's very powerful. That's
yeah,
very powerful.
there's a very social aspect, there's a very physical aspect, we're getting that dopamine, we're having that reward pleasure, response
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
brain,
Yeah.
but I don't think it really even matters what music you're listening to. It does affect the prefrontal cortex, right? So you're having that emotional regulation, that decision making, you're having that
Right.
impacted, usually in a positive way.
Yeah.
You have the DMN, the default mode network. You have this encouragement for self-reflection, for introspection, and
Right.
that can help you problem solve. I don't think there's anything else that allows you to do that. And now we can
That's very
have this
true.
social experience.
I think that's a very powerful way to look at that or to point back to that because at the end everything is some form of energy and waves, right? Like we have the light waves, we have sound waves, and with music you make a really good point when you speak of the chemicals that are being released physically, but with the social aspect where in the past we may have put on a record label or we may have shared a cassette with a friend or we may have played a CD in the car or the radio and said, "Oh, hear this latest song of our favorite band. What do you think about it?" Right? We experience music together physically, but with people being so far apart now, or the downfall of the downside, if you will, the many benefits, of course. The downside of social media, a lot of people have become. You mentioned the word lonely earlier, right? There's a more of isolation, and so I think you're onto something when you say not only is music therapeutic for the reasons you just listed, right? Physically, psychologically, spiritual to some, that emotional release, the form of journaling, right, which is very therapeutic processing, but you are bringing it back to the social as well with the reactions. And I think that there's a lot of power to have that human connection when we have less access to it. Ironically, even though, we're more mobile now than ever with cars and planes, a lot of people are isolated in their homes or unable to leave or afraid to leave or are not connecting with their physically present family and friends the way they long to, right? I've had people comment about how some of their friends or family doesn't like the stuff they like to listen to. And now on the internet or with their favorite reactor, they have found someone who loves what they love. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Why people long to find someone else that has the same preference or why they want to hear your love for what they love?
Well, first of all, I think you mentioning social media, we think it makes us more social, but it
Hmm.
really makes us quite antisocial. I think in many
Yeah.
situations when it comes to TikTok and Twitter and Instagram, it makes us very antisocial. But when it comes to YouTube, I feel like it's a little bit different, that it really encourages that sense of community. And like I said, music's been a social experience through history, not just through
Right.
the cassettes and stuff. I mean, although you aged us with that, thanks a lot,
I
Rosalie.
know, right? I know. Oops. I mean, I know, of course, we could go way back to the concerts and Beethoven
Right.
and Mozart, people coming together to listen to the compositions,
Or even
or
tribes, dancing
there
to
we
music
go,
and playing
around the
instruments.
fireplace.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's been all
Always.
through history,
Yes.
or churches,
Yes.
and
Yes.
singing
There you
hymns,
go.
hundreds
Yeah.
of years. But
Agreed.
not everybody has a church that they belong to. Not everybody
Right.
can go to a concert. Not everybody can afford to go to a concert, or maybe they don't have access. They're not close to a place where they can go to a concert. Maybe they don't
Agreed.
have a tribe, but most people have the internet, and most people can connect with these
Right.
reactors
Right.
that they're resonating
Reviewing.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they're
Mhm.
reviewing. And I think seeing other people having many of the same reactions, emotions, thoughts can create that sense of community and
Yeah.
belonging. And that can
Mhm.
act as a super powerful reminder that we aren't alone. These
Yeah.
feelings and emotions and thoughts and experiences, like I had way back in my teen years, I went, okay, I'm not alone. And I got
Yeah.
a little bit of that through the music, but now I get to have a whole community of people that are saying, oh man, yeah, I feel just the same. It's not just this
Yeah.
one person singing. It's now, oh no, there's hundreds, thousands, probably millions of people that feel exactly the same. And it can create that community, that belonging.
Yeah.
Fans,
Affirmation, if you will, right?
yeah, affirmation, validation, and fans can come together much easier now than they could have. And I think that that
Agreed.
even brings us closer to our favorite artists in many ways, that the reaction community has actually connected us more with
Yeah.
these artists that we love. For example, NSYNC came out with a new song back in September of 2023, and I usually am all about let's talk about mental health and let's use music as a method of opening up communication. But
Uh-huh.
in this case, I'm oh no, I need to just fangirl. Okay, my inner 13-year-old needs to come out. I need to have this experience. So I did my reaction, and NSYNC actually shared part of my clip on their social media.
That's
my
amazing.
my best friend calls me and she says, I'm going to tell you something and I need you not to scream in my ear. Probably broke her eardrum, but I was just so excited to see you excited. You have to go listen to that NSYNC song. It's great. Sorry for all the eardrums I just broke singing, but it was just an amazing experience because I got to connect with a group that I loved for over 20 years in a whole
Yeah.
different way. You know, and
Yeah.
they're huge. I would it would
Yeah.
be very hard for me to get Justin Timberlake's attention. I've met all five members separately, but it was really awesome. Or when I got to interview Chester's son Jamie for the channel, and I got
Of
to have
course.
that experience. You know, we would
Yeah.
have never had that had we
Nope.
not had these reaction communities, these social communities surrounding music and what it means
Right.
to us.
There's a lot that we can take out of it, and I like how you're touching with such a diverse way on all these aspects, right? The psychological aspect, the community, that therapeutic, that outlet that it was for you and it is for other people. Do you think there are, since that's all the positive, that there are any negative or concerning side effects of for people watching reaction videos? Not necessarily for you reacting, since you can measure what you react to, how much you speak on it, what you edit out or not post, but for the audience, for the people watching them, are there any red flags you see or any negative side effects?
Yes, and partially from the music itself, partially from having an echo chamber of other people that are validating it. That can be good to a point because, you know, while listening to music can validate a person's emotions, whether it's an aggressive song or a melancholy
Right.
one, when we're feeling in those challenging places, we're trying to navigate that. That can be therapeutic and cathartic as a short-term skill, as a short-term tool that we turn to. But I think after some time, that hits that wall of diminishing return, right? And it can eventually start depleting your emotional reserves if you're not
Do you
eventually leaning into that reflection and that problem solving and that processing. If you're just saying, well, I'm going to let this person validate how crummy I feel constantly. And
Right.
you're listening to
Right.
that and you're watching other people go, yeah, look how miserable they are.
You're
So it's totally,
wallowing.
you're
Yeah,
wallowing,
it's
you're
like
normalizing.
there's a level of then over identifying with the suffering perhaps, or with this particular what is the word? Community, this niche, over identifying with that niche or that suffering. Could you elaborate on the word that you just used? The diminishing returns. Will you, for our audience that is not as familiar with those things, elaborate what you mean by that?
Right. So once you get to a certain point of benefit, it starts actually having kind of an adverse effect. So it gets to a point where you are having the benefit, you're having the benefit, and then either you stop having the benefit or it can even go in reverse and it starts becoming destructive. So there is
Right.
that point where it's
Mhm.
not helping you anymore. It's the same with
Right.
money. They've proven that once you make a certain amount of money, it
Mhm.
doesn't make you any happier. It can
Mhm.
either start having a negative impact on your happiness because now you're going, oh my God, I have all this money. I don't know what to do. I have all these
Right.
taxes to pay. You don't know who your real friends are because they might just want
Mhm.
you for your money. So that
Right.
can bring stresses of its own. In the case of music, like I said, if you're just constantly using this to validate yourself and you're not leaning into that processing aspect,
Right.
then it's going to be detrimental. And there are
I
so
agree.
many things that can help us. I don't know. Do you know what the Mozart effect is? Mozart effect is?
No, I don't think I'm familiar with
Oh
that
my gosh,
term.
I think that this is just so fascinating because it suggests that classical music can improve your spatial temporal reasoning, which I
Mhm.
think is super
That I'm
cool.
familiar with.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's super cool because essentially it enhances our ability to understand
Mhm.
how things can be related, and that allows us to
Yeah.
problem solve, to
Yeah,
process,
because all
to
the neurons are
yeah,
connecting. Yeah, it's
yeah.
all one system.
I thought that was a super interesting thing in regards to music. So when you are
Mhm.
using it as a
Yeah,
tool, just like
yeah,
we were talking about therapy, it can be a
yeah.
tool, but it can't be the only tool you have. And I think
I
once
agree.
people find something that validates
Mhm.
them, as you
Yep,
said, they might kind of ruminate and wallow in that as opposed to
absolutely.
using it in the correct way. Like even with therapy cannot
Mhm.
fix everything, you know?
No, of
It can
course,
give you
and
direction, it can help you build
mhm.
skills, but then you have to
Right.
branch out and do the work.
Absolutely. That's you just said a key word. You have to do the work. There's so many things even that can happen in therapy, right? From transference to countertransference, unhealthy dynamics between therapist and their patient, the client. I think that if it just becomes it's supposed to be a tool, like you said very, very well, and there is a time and a place for each tool, right? I can't use a hammer for every single thing, and the same thing goes even with classical music, like you said, well, and the effect that it has on our cognitive function. That's why it's recommended for babies, right? Even you're listening to it in utero. But obviously, if I use classical music and I blasted it at a certain decibel amount, decibel number, into an ear of a child, there could be damage to their ear. So, though this may be a very random example, it's this idea of using something in the right way at the right time. And I think that what you pointed out with the downside to reaction videos is very well put. This it becoming this niche or it becoming this over identification. I suppose one could say, just like the saying goes, too much of anything isn't good, right? It becomes like an addiction where you need more of either the same drug or something heavier to get that same release of dopamine, to get the same fix. Um, and I suppose one could say the same for even reaction videos, right? If we're looking for comfort or for the reactor to have all the answers for us, or it infuriates us if they didn't like what we liked and the way we did, there's a need for self-reflection. And I believe we have very mature and very balanced viewers, thankfully, that are willing to learn. Of course, there's always trolls and there's those who are angry or get reactive, but it seems to be there's plenty of people who are willing to learn, even if it pushes them past their comfort zone. I guess that's just the hard part for all of us, right? To as a reactor, to be willing to speak up and say, you know what, I'm going to say what I'm feeling right now, even though I'm not going to be liked for it. And for the viewer to say, you know what, I don't like that she said this or he, but I'm going to dare and listen, and maybe I can learn something new. So it's definitely a dance because it is art. There's always this
Yeah.
subjective element involved.
And you'll always have people that don't approve of you. Always. There will always be
Absolutely,
people that don't like you. And there'll
absolutely.
always be people, and this is the hardest thing for me. The absolute hardest thing for me is accepting that I can't save them all. Because like
Mhm.
I said, I created this community
Yeah,
because I want to save people. I want to help people. I want to show people that I see them, that I
yeah.
hear them, that I care about them. And tragically, I have been made aware of people in my community who have lost their lives to suicide.
Mm.
And that breaks me every time because I now see it as that's lost potential. That's
Yeah,
someone who could have healed. They could have found the other side.
yeah,
They could have found the joy and happiness they deserve. And maybe that doesn't look like everyone else's joy and happiness. I know
yeah,
that I will never be the same as someone else. My happiness spectrum is not the same as someone else who doesn't live with borderline personality disorder or anxiety or depression or whatever the case is.
yeah.
I know that. But I've had people accuse me of not caring or accuse me of not being there, and I'm one person with 60,000 people on my
Yeah,
community, and I can't do the work for them. And this might
that's
be a
correct.
bit dark, but one of the things that helped me the most was last year in 2023, I had a really dark year. And I ended up watching the Saw movies. I'd seen the first two, but I ended up watching the rest of them for the first time. And you want to talk validation? I know that that might scare the crap out of people, but just the things that John Kramer or Jigsaw, the I'm not sure whether you want to say protagonist or antagonist. Depends on how you watch the
How
movie.
you what?
But
Yeah.
the character, he had experienced a lot of things that really resonated with me, like his inability to get healthcare. Both my parents passed away because they could not get access to healthcare. He lost a child. I understood this.
Yeah.
And I watched these movies, and there's a part in, I think it's the third one, where it's right after him and his wife lose this baby through miscarriage. And she's saying, I just wanted to help them.
Mm.
And he says, or I just wanted to save them. I don't remember which, but he says, you can't help them. They have to help themselves. You can't save
Yeah.
them. They have to save themselves.
Yeah.
And that's been a hard lesson for me to learn, because to me, I see the power that this music has. I see the power of the message behind it. I see the power that we as a community have coming
Yeah.
together. But if those people aren't willing
Yeah.
to
To
lean
do the
into
work.
that and do that
Yeah.
reflection
Of course.
and process those feelings and get the help that they deserve, then
Right.
there's nothing that myself or you or any other content creator
Absolutely.
can
I agree.
do.
I agree. That's very true. I think that goes for anything. We have to internalize it, right? I mean, the food has to go into my system for it to nourish my body, right? There's it applies to so many things, and I think that in itself speaks of growth on your part, though, going from a place of your own suffering, trying to find a place to belong and to survive, taking that step, choosing life, right? You made that choice, right? And then to being at a point where you can help other people, but still understanding what that looks like practically. And I think that's the beauty, but also the responsibility. I don't want to say danger, the responsibility of having a large platform, right? With so many people looking to us or so many people watching and listening, is the teacher will be judged twice as hard, right? Someone of a platform has power and should heed their influence. And so I suppose it's this dance of using it for good, but understanding that, yeah, everyone watching will still have to do what they need to do on their own. They are all still the president of their own life, if you will, right? They may be watching you on your platform, but they still are the performer on their own, for lack of better
Yeah. Because
picture.
it's like we took these messages
Mm-hmm.
from the music that we
Right.
listen to or the people that
Right.
we've surrounded ourselves with.
Yeah.
For me, it was Chester, but the lesson I had to learn in his passing was Chester can't save me.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can save me. I have
Right.
to save me. I have to do
Right.
that.
Right.
And it's not
Absolutely.
easy. And at the time, I didn't have the answers.
Yeah.
And for anyone that doesn't know my story, in 2018, I was on the ledge of a Canadian hotel room about to jump in my life. I could not deal with it anymore. I had no answers. I didn't know what to do. I thought all hope was lost. I thought I'd tried everything. And a Linkin Park song came on just outside my hotel room at that
Yeah.
exact time. There had not been any music at any other time, came on at that exact time. And I went, okay, whatever is trying to get my attention, I hear you. I realized that I need to take action. I realized that it was kind of that, okay, Chester's going to save me one last time, like it was that one last little push. But I realized in that moment, my parents aren't here. Chester's not here. Actually, I'm in another country. Fortunately, I
Mhm.
can speak the language. I can speak French, but I was in Quebec. But I knew that I had to do it myself. So while we can inspire people as content creators, as reactors, we can inspire people, we can create community, we can help validate people and love people and invite them and try and make them feel welcome. We still can't do the work for them. We can't heal for them.
Right. Right. Man, you are one beautiful, smart lady. I just wish you success. You have a lot of value to bring, from the technical terms that you use to how you explain things, your passion. I think it's amazing. I think all these people that come to your channel is well deserved, and it makes sense. And I hope that they just keep coming, because I think what you have to share is profound. I am so proud of you for choosing life. I'm so glad that you're still here. I consider time to be our most valuable commodity. Yeah, and I said this even in my interview with Ren. When we choose to give that to somebody else, I find that a very precious thing, right? Because we're never going to get that back. The last 30 minutes you just spent with me, you could have spent doing literally anything else, and you spend them with me, right? And it's like two lives get to cross paths, and this is an example of that. You cross paths with lives when you're reacting, into the thousands of people listening to you, or the people in your day to day you meet in person. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I'm honored because you are very, very, what's the word? Admirable. No, impressive. That's the word. You're an impressive woman. So I appreciate you sharing all that. It's really powerful. And I think your type of channel, what you bring is what people are hungry for. I
Thank
think
you.
that's what
Thank you
people are
so
hungry
much.
for.
And don't sell yourself short. You're quite the inspiration
Thank
yourself.
you. Thank you. I find a lot of joy in it. I think reaction videos I've learned are just that's why I wanted to do this project about the psychology of it because where in the past I would have not understood what the hype is all about, right? Why watch someone watch something was silly to me. Finding my own niche, just doing it, just starting just to see what happens to then realize I don't need to be a vocal coach or some expert when it comes to, of course, I'm not a rapper. I had my niche, I had my experience versus thinking, okay, how can I gather enough information to be a semi vocal coach? You know what I mean? Or be a semi expert on rapping or on the technical things. And instead realizing I have my niche to
Yeah.
bring. It was almost this natural transition. And I suppose even with you, naturally coming in from what you've experienced, what you're studying, your field of expertise, I think that's beautiful. And I hope it inspires people, even that watch us, to say, you know what? I want to create something, regardless if they want to do a YouTube channel as well or anything, right? We were created to create it. It gives meaning. It's therapeutic, right? Doing something, helping people in need, actually using our time for good. But it's encouraging to see that every one of us has a place.
And we
Um,
all have our strengths. And sometimes that
yes,
good
yes,
might
yeah,
not be doing something that has 60,000 followers. Sometimes it
yeah.
might be taking up piano, learning to play piano,
There you go.
volunteering,
It's
all
still
of these,
creating.
yeah,
Yep,
different things. You're still creating, you're
yep.
using energy. And that's what it is.
Absolutely.
It's
More
just energy
waves.
transference. Yeah. It's
Yes,
just
just like
energy
music.
transference. Yeah.
I love that.
But when I actually didn't initially get into wanting to do reaction
Hmm.
videos. I was
Hmm.
trying to make the tips videos and I was doing celebrity interviews.
Okay.
I interviewed Billy Bob Thornton, stuff like that, or people
Awesome.
like that. So I was trying to focus on that
Okay.
and I wasn't getting a whole lot of traction. And I had a friend who did reaction videos and I kind of felt the exact same way that you did that I'm going, so people just watch you listen to a song? Like that's
Yeah,
what you do?
yeah,
Really?
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
thing? And he said, well, if you're trying to talk to people about mental health,
Yeah.
couldn't you
Perfect.
incorporate your story? And I said, oh wow. And I thought, yeah,
Yes.
because I have this experience, how music has inspired me, and now I can kind of venture
Yeah.
out and see how music affects me in other ways, and how I can
Yes.
talk about my story and utilize that
Yep.
opportunity to say, hey,
Yep.
here is how music affected me. How did it affect you? Let's talk.
Yep.
Let's have a conversation. I do these streams on
Yes.
my channel just to say, hey, let's check
Yep.
in with ourselves. Let's see where we are. Let's share our wins. I don't know if you've ever watched Legally Blonde, but I have my own snap cup. So we
Oh,
should
how cool.
we share mental health wins in the community, but we also talk about the challenges that we're facing and how we
Yeah.
can support each other. That's
That's
what the community is
beautiful.
about. But I didn't come into it saying I want to be a reaction channel. I came into it saying I want to make a difference. I want to have this community that helps people. And I
Yeah.
was so shocked, so shocked. I did not see this coming. I thought at best I'd make these little tips videos or these interviews, and I remember
Uh-huh.
interviewing Billy specifically and him talking about how panic attacks felt to him. And I thought, wait a second, what? Like this A-list celebrity is having panic attacks?
Wow.
I don't even understand what's going
Yeah.
on here. But
Yeah.
when I then incorporated the music, when I then
Mhm.
expanded out, I
Mhm.
had all these people that were
Yep.
messaging me saying, your interpretation of that helped
Yep.
me either seek therapy, get into recovery. And in many
Powerful.
cases, people have said, this video saved my life.
Saved my life.
I was going to end my life tonight, and watching your reaction to this, watching you talk about it, hearing you open up, saved my life. And I just did not see that coming. I still cry frequently when I get messages like that. But the first time I literally just sat back in my chair and went,
Wow.
this
That's
isn't just
such
somebody looking at a screen saying, oh, ooh,
no.
ah, that's such a good song.
No, yes, you bring substance, and that's a beautiful example of that ripple effect, is that you chose life and you're encouraging others to do the same because there's so much more than the suffering. There's more than the pain.
Yeah. And
It's so
when we can say,
beautiful.
I get it. I get what it's
Yeah.
like to fall into
Yes.
addiction. I get why you're
Yes.
falling into addiction. I'm not gonna judge you for
Yes.
that because I've been
No.
there. I'm not
Yup.
gonna judge you for having these dark thoughts because I've had them, sometimes still have
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
People just
Yeah.
need to be heard. And I feel
Yes.
like that is my mission in life, is to make sure that every person I come across, be it in person, on my channel, Whatever the
Yeah.
case is, I just want people to feel seen and heard and loved. That's all I want out of my community. If I ever get a million subscribers or whatever, cool. But my bigger priority is making sure that all of the people feel loved and feel supported. That's what we should be doing as a
Oh,
community.
man. Man, you are a light. I'm freaking proud of you, lady. And I'm honored you took the time to chat with me and gave me a little bit of your time. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate
It's
you.
awesome to be part of this project and just have another way to spread awareness and shatter the
Yes.
stigma.